Ever wonder if your relationship is over or if it's salvageable? Or maybe if it's time to just call it quits for good? You are not alone in this incredibly difficult and emotional decision. The bottom line is that it's really hard to talk about. Nobody wants to discuss whether they should get divorced or they should continue to work on their marriage. And when do you know that enough is enough? My name's Rachel King, and today we're going to talk about what I tell people when they come into my office and say, should I get a divorce or not?
Welcome to Gavels Down, Voices Up, where we flip the script on conventional legal discussions. I'm Rachel King, here to guide you through the murky waters of family law, estate conflicts, inheritance disputes, all of the dramas. We're not just talking about law, we're talking about how it affects your life, your rights, your future, and your money. From the courtroom to your living room, we bring you insights that matter. Dive into each episode ready to challenge, learn, and grow. Ready to change the dialogue? Let's begin. Gavels down, voices up.
Let's start with the first. Nobody wants to hear it, but it's not my decision. I don't get to decide if your divorce is the right thing to do or if your marriage should continue on. But I can tell you some of the things that I've heard people say and some of the best circumstances. One, I had a client tell me, I knew it was time to get divorced when no matter what my spouse did, I was no longer interested in participating in the marriage. She said, it is time to get divorced. What am I even doing here? I had another person come to me and say, I knew that I needed to file a divorce when I could not imagine living this same relationship every single day for the rest of my life. It was time for her to file for divorce. It's not clear when you should file for divorce. However, as an attorney, I can tell you that one thing that I've learned is that divorce, it's not a solution to try and force your spouse to change. It's a serious matter. And though there are clients and people and couples that I've seen over the years that did end up canceling their divorce after they filed, or even a few that ended up getting remarried, that is not the norm. If you're no longer interested in participating in the marriage, then yeah, might be time to file. Or maybe you're the flip. You are interested in participating, but your spouse has really tuned out. They are not participating no matter what is happening on your side. They have checked out of the marriage, but they're not going to file. Why? Because, I don't know, for whatever reason, they think that they shouldn't have to file. And so they're just going to basically abandon everything, including their responsibility to exit the marriage. Well, in that case, you might want to file for divorce too. It really doesn't matter who files for divorce. You're not going to get a benefit or a drawback. That's not the right word, but you know what I mean. It's not going to be bad if you don't file or they file. It doesn't matter. But filing is important, and that's what kicks off the divorce. You can say that you want a divorce until you're blue in the face, but that doesn't really matter. It's the actual filing, and that's the hardest and most stressful decision that you can make. When you're deciding whether you want to file for divorce or whether your marriage is salvageable, I would really look internally and think through it. Is this something that you want to do? What does the life look like on the other side? You know, that grass is always greener on the other side of the fence thing. Even people that I know that have gotten divorced and are happy with their decision have come back and said it's not always greener. It might be different, and there might be doors that open that are better than you have now, but you never know which way it's going to go. So instead of looking at the grass is always greener, just have a real practical discussion with yourself in your own head about what your life looks like post-divorce. It's going to change dramatically. There's going to be financial impacts. There's going to be emotional impacts. There's going to be impacts on any children that you have, even if they're grown. What does your life look like now? And what does your life look like after divorce? And think about it. And then decide which one you think will be better for you.
Let's take a quick break. If you're navigating the twists and turns of divorce, you might be wondering, getting divorced, now what? That's actually the title of my upcoming book, designed to guide you through the challenging and emotional process of divorce. It's packed with real-life stories, expert tips, and motivational insights to empower you every step of the way. While it's not available just yet, you can join the waitlist to make sure you don't miss out. Head over to rachelkingattorney.com to sign up to be the first to get a copy and enter to win a free signed copy as soon as it releases. Arm yourself with the knowledge to move forward confidently through this challenging time. Now let's get back to the show.
Some of the things to consider when you're deciding whether to get divorced can be practical in nature. For example, if you know that your marriage is going to demise and it's just a matter of filing now or then, and you're coming up near the 10-year mark in California, you might want to consider filing sooner rather than later. Why? Because typically in California, a long-term marriage is any marriage that lasts over 10 years, and the laws change dramatically. So if you're sitting over there at year 7 or 8, like, oh my God, I need out of this, maybe you file now instead of at year 11 or 12 when you're stuck in long-term marriage rules. Also, if your spouse has like a gambling problem or is pissing away money and you're like, I don't know if this is going to change, I don't know where I want, sometimes the filing of the divorce is the right decision because it stops the bleed then. So if you're trying to recover some of this money that your spouse went and put into the slot machines, you're only going to be able to do it if you are legally or establish the date of legal separation. So sometimes financial dates matter. And it would be silly to suggest that you think about filing for divorce without thinking about the impact on the children, the ages of your kids, how it's going to work out, where you can live. Is it reasonable and practical for you to stay in the same area that your children live in? Are you likely to get a sole custody situation where you can take them wherever? That's very rare. Are you going to have to pay child support? What does that look like? So some of these real life scenarios are something that you want to weigh. I can tell you one thing. In 100% of the cases, your financial situation will change. It just will. It may end up better down the road than it does right now, but the bottom line is that when you divide one pot for one household into two households, everything changes. And it doesn't really matter that the law says that you're going to try and maintain the marital standard of living. Basic economics and math says that's not going to happen. So first and foremost, when you are thinking about whether you should file for divorce, first think, do I want to stay married? Yes or no? I've had people say that they literally made a spreadsheet of the pros and cons of their spouse and being married. I can say that's a little bit much. I don't know that I would ever pen it, but if that's how you feel, do that. What does life look like from an emotional standpoint? Do you want to stay in the marriage? If your answer is no to all of these things, maybe it is time. Have you done everything that you can to try and get the marriage to a place that you want to be and it's still not there? Maybe it's time. But outside of all of the emotions, I still think you need to consider the financial impacts. That doesn't mean stay with your spouse just for money, but it does mean look at the financial impact of the divorce. And is there a way to navigate your marriage so that you don't face the financial devastation? And I will say, even the Bezoses had some kind of financial devastation, because can you imagine going from being worth hundreds of billions of dollars to only 50? Oh, that would be tough. Or being the CEO of a major publicly traded corporation and then not. I say it in jest, but the reality is that every single person is facing a financial change when they get divorced. If you're married, I can tell you that nearly half of the people that are married right now, have contemplated divorce. It's natural. So the fact that you're thinking about divorce doesn't mean your marriage is destitute. It also doesn't mean that your marriage is salvageable. What it does mean is that you're not alone in thinking about it. And many people that think about divorce look at the emotional side and the financial side and either don't file for divorce or do based on emotional and financial fears. So all of the things that you're feeling, yeah, so is everybody else. And it's going to be okay. Regardless of what your decision is, whether you do decide to file for divorce or you decide to continue to work on your marriage, be confident in what you're doing. Know that it's going to be okay. Find yourself a therapist, a lawyer, and a support system. And know that you can change your mind. Though harder to undo a divorce after it already happens. But, you know. If you would like more in-depth information on whether you should get divorced, and then now what do you do? Head over to gettingdivorcednowwhat.com and find my new book. I will tell you all tips and tricks, things that I've learned and seen as I litigated family law for 10 years. And until next time, if you're getting divorced, now what do you do?
That wraps up another episode of Gavels Down, Voices Up. If you found value in our discussion today, please subscribe, leave a review, and share with someone who needs these insights. Your engagement helps us grow and impact more lives. I'm Rachel King, thanking you for listening and reminding you to speak up because every voice deserves to be heard.